Okay, I was about my car so at about a Ghana Politics Avenue. So I was saying, Bunra, a yensem military aircraft na ɛkɔ crash no ɛyɛ forensic audit ɛyɛ analyst and as expert aba abɔnten aba be schooly ɛyɛ president with wisdom asan so akyerɛ ɛkyɛ sɛ ɛkwan a yɛbɛfa so ayɛ ɛyɛ saa investigations no ɛkwan a incident no aircraft no baabi a ɛkɔ crash no nneɛma bi a ɛwɔ hɔ a ɛnkɛyɛ sɛ yɛn nsa etumi ka ɛna ɔmo residents no nneɛma bi a ɛkyɛ sɛ nkɛnni kwan sɛ ɔmo kɔ hɔ na ɔmo kɔ pie hɔ anaasɛ saa investigation DNA na yɛkɔ akɔyɛ no nneɛma bi wɔ hɔ a nkɛnni kwan sɛ incident ni siiɛ no nkɛnni kwan sɛ saa baabi a incident ni siiɛ no ɔmo kɔ hɔ ɔmo allow amanfoɔ ma ɔmo kɔ hɔ nti no abusua ɛyɛ saa forensic audit analyst we no waba abɛdrɔpe hot ɛyɛ info ɛde amaye a kyerɛ sɛ yɛbɛfa so ɛde ayɛ saa investigations na yɛnsɛ mmɔmmra mmɔm yɛnkɔ na yɛnkɔ tie nsɛm a ɛkɔɔ so madam ase.
How does all of this, or how would this impact on the investigation, the quest to understand exactly what happened?
Yes, in forensics, we believe that every contact leaves a trace, and we are not stealthy as you might think. Wherever you go, you leave, traces of evidence, whether visible or latent, and some of the information that they would actually, fall on to be able to help in the investigation might not be visible to the human eye, and for them to have taken some of these pieces away and not be able to actually pinpoint where they picked them can, in a way, affect, affect or sort of delay processes leading to the finality of the investigation. But that is not to say that you can't not get to the bottom of, the investigations if you don't find some of these things. But it is good they bring these things because they would be used in a way to actually be able to help unravel the happenings before the crash. But my concern, basically, it's due to the fact that the locals, people think that the locals didn't know, or because of the fact that the crash did happen far away from the city or the village. That is how come these things are happening. Nobody was around. They were the first responders and all of that. We believe there should be a national forensic policy or campaign or education. It is not only this. You can imagine any crime scene in Ghana before the investigators even get there. People would have trooped there with the intention of even trying to help. But in the end, they rather cause more harm than good because, one, they contaminate the crime scene. Two, they leave their own, biological material at the scene. And you can't become a culprit because you're leaving, your material at the scene. So that is why the taking of, these pieces away by the villagers, they cannot be faulted that much because they did it on the blind side. They didn't know. So, but if we had sustained a campaign for them to know, or for the entire, nation to know these are the do's and don'ts in situations like that, I'm not sure this will happen. But for the institutions mandated to do these things, I have a challenge with how they handle the remains. The fact that somebody is passed on doesn't mean you can treat them without respect. You have to give them some, dignity. So the way they carried, the bodies,
the remains of
exactly from the site and all of that had a lot of.
So yes, that information about the remains being put in. I'm sure that's why you raised the concern. The remains being put
the sacks and all of that.
The cocoa sacks. And then because there were no body bags, and the residents thought they were only helping, as you said, that in their minds they thought they were helping the situation.
Yes.
And what was available then were the sacks and not body bags. What could have been done differently?
Well said, but I'm not sure the villagers started, carrying the bodies away without the presence of the authorities All right, it was the authorities who would have asked them to be able to help do that, and that is why they did that. And it will be very surprising for me to come to terms with the fact that a national emergency institution would move to a site like this without body bags, having been informed of what has actually happened. Because one, the people who are going to carry these sacks, their own lives are at risk. One, the bodies could have absorbed aviation fuel, could have absorbed hydraulic fluid, could have absorbed other, chemicals on board in the fuel and then other parts of the helicopter. And all of these would be absorbed by the dead bodies. And because the bodies are bloated with body fluids and all of that, if you put them in these sacks, those people that are going to carry them, if somebody, gets in contact with the body fluid and the body fluid has any biological pathogen, a disease-causing organism, it means that they're going to be infected. So it is not good for them and not good for bystanders as well. Again, you had the bodies bloated, so you could have certain gases in there, that would also cause the bodies to attract other flies, other insects, that would further complicate the identification processes, because if the bodies are bloated, in the end, it tends to affect the way the, the visual identification processes will be done, and further on, adding DNA analysis and all of that, because in the end, it is going to affect, the investigation, and that is what we don't want. Again, if you look at the legalities and the ethical concerns, all right, the Public Health Act, Act 851, and the Mortuary and Facility Management Act, Act 85829, all frowns on, the way mortal remains are handled improperly in this country. And for that matter, it was only proper for these bodies to have been handled in a manner that would bring some dignity to the persons, involved. Again, putting these bodies in sacks, you are compromising with the forensic evidence that is going to help in identifying them. Because if you do have trace evidence, you could have hair, you could have fiber, you could have paint, chips, and all of that. That will be as part of the bodies that are in the bag. And all of these evidences are going to be destroyed because they are trace evidence. And in the end, they cannot actually be used to help in the investigation. Situations like this, you can't imagine that the bodies are, fragmented. So you're going to have pieces of bodies all over. So you gather the pieces, you wouldn't know whose, leg is this, whose arm is this, whose whatever body part is this. Yes. And they put all of them, together. So if you do put all of them in a sack like that without a body bag that is briefable, all right, in the end, you are going to make the identification process difficult. And, I'm not surprised the samples are sent to South Africa for, further analysis, because the bodies are co-mingled, all right? So it becomes difficult to be able to tell whether this profile is for person A or person B. So that is why
we don't have installations in Ghana that
no, that is a forensic DNA analysis. That is different from normal relationship DNA testing, where you talk of maternity testing, paternity testing. For that, that is very basic. I take my son's sample, I take my own sample or my wife's sample. I compare them on the face because they are just single profiles. It is very easy to tell that this is similar to this or this is the same as this. But what we're looking at here in this situation is that the samples are mixed together. So the profile will have a mixture of a genetic material for all of these people. You get it? So you need an advanced method to be able to decipher, the profile, that this is for this person, this is for this person, by taking samples from the families, whether the father, the parents or their children or siblings, to be able to help in the investigations, or using their personal, material. You could take somebody's toothbrush, extract their DNA from it, and compare to, the body from the crime scene. If it matches, it tells you that is the person because it's a direct match, and that is similar to the one that I alluded to earlier. So it is because of the complexity of the situation. That is why the samples have been sent to South Africa. It doesn't mean that normal DNA testing cannot be done in Ghana. The equipment that I hear could be used for that purpose, but it would take time. And under the circumstance, I believe we all do not have time to wait for long, especially our Muslim brothers that are on board. We need to get to the bottom of the situation.
So in a situation like how long would a process like this take?
Well, it depends on the relationship that the government has with the lab in question. If I had, the right equipment as a forensic scientist, a forensic geneticist, within a day or two, I should be able to do this with advanced DNA sequencing. If I have the next generation sequencing technique, within the shortest time, you do it once, and all you need is to use mathematical algorithm to be able to separate, the profiles, and that should be straightforward. But if you're using the traditional methods, which we have in Ghana, it is going to take a long time because you need to do them one after the other. And if they don't match, you then need to go to the next phase. All right. Mind you, that what we call non-paternity events. Non-paternity events are situations where it is said that it is only a woman who knows the father of their children. All right. So it presupposes that if you take a sample from any of the victims, and you want to use a Y chromosome, and you take samples from their father, all right, or their brother, and the father is not the biological father, but they think that is a father, or you take it from their sibling, and the sibling is not their true sibling biologically, you are not going to get any result. So that is a non-paternity event. Again, it could happen that people are adopted into the family, and they become part of the family, but biologically they are not part of the family. So in the end, you do the analysis and compare, and that wouldn't match. Again, people adopt surnames. I just think that, Alfred, your surname, I like it so much, so I want to give it to my son. Going down, my son is going to carry that family name, along the lines. But biologically, they don't belong to your family. So it means that if you compare the samples to that, that is not going to match. So these are some of the reasons why using advanced, methods can help. And
you maintain that this advanced DNA sequencing machines or methods, we don't have that in Ghana?
Yes, I can tell you that on authority.
I see. And I know you have to leave us. So quick one. The residents who, the first respondents, the important point you make about the National Forensics Campaign for people to know what to do the moment they appear at the disaster site is key. You heard some of them say that even the remains were hot or felt hot in the sack. Would the body bags have still been able to contain them?
Yes, the body bags, there are different types of body bags, and they are briefable, right? So once you put the body bags in the person carrying the body, the bystanders, and the body itself would preserve, the biological evidence. You can imagine having a biological material and putting it in a poly bag that is not briefable. It is going to decompose them more because it will maintain a lot of heat within. And maintaining a lot of heat would cause a lot of decomposition. And once the bodies are decomposed, it means that DNA is going to be degraded, because we know DNA is made up of protein. So it will be degraded, and it further complicates the identification process. So that is why the sacks that they use in conveying the body or transporting them wasn't, proper. So,
but how about if you hear, there's a cocoa farmer who's watching and says that there's a protective lining in the sacks that keep the cocoa beans fresh? Will that narrative hold? Now, yes, Wing Commander, please, just quick. Yes, please.
I think you're giving us an overview of our ideal situation. This is a peculiar aircraft, deep in the jungle. Who is going to get a body bag? They don't have storage of body bags there. Even if you take our normal roads, when there are bus accidents, people go there and start scrambling. that this deep in the forest, 2.5 hours after the plane crashed, the security forces had not gotten there. They were still cutting their way through the forest. You saw it here. And of course, they couldn't have let the bodies in the open, until somebody came with a body bag to come and carry them. Even the wild animals, a possibility that maybe we devour them. So the best they could do now, put them in a sack and take them away.
But we Commander, that is going to compromise the evidence.
Yeah, but the question is where are they going to get the body bags you're talking about?
Yes, the body bags that are going to be used should have been brought by...
From where?
The agencies...
And I'm telling the security, the army who are cutting their way from Obuasi.
Yes, so
2.5 hours.
Come along with
so in this case, would it be proper to leave the bodies lying where they are to not 3 hours
or so? Did the fire service not go with them?
There was no road. It's the forest.
Yes, but if there was
let me just provide some information. Quick, as the thing was happening, so the AG, they had reached out to the AG to get body bags together.
You mean Anglo Gold?
Yes, Anglo Gold Ashanti.
Yes.
So, but the challenge again is that I'm pretty sure by the time they will go and mobilize that and and be able to get to the spot. So I don't know. Again, that's where Commander was talking about the ideal situation. I don't know whether then what they should have done, the people should have done was to stay around the bodies, because again the risk, you don't know which animals are there. Because Chief, what then would have happened is that you might then not have anything at all. So, but I completely hear you when you say we need to get a plan as a country in terms of the way we handle these things, so that when this thing happens, what should we do? So that everybody
must go down.
It's a peculiar situation.
Yes. What do we do in such a situation? I think that is something we really need to deal with, and it's because sometimes the people who die in accidents, most of the thing is the way we handle how that happens. So I think that for me, it's also one of the things that we need to learn out of this. But I know for a fact that the AGA people had given that body bag should be sent there.
And it's
but
going by road.
How? So it's definitely going to go by road. You know what I mean? And then let me also say another thing. When you get to the place, the closest place, and you park your car, it's about almost an hour's trek to where to be before you are going to get there. So those who are taking the body bags, I'm pretty sure those were the challenges. But again, I hear him what the things that he's saying, because the challenge is if you don't handle that carefully, what then will happen is that you will not really be able to do, be able to get to the bottom of the things. So you have to weigh that against all of that, and then how should that be handled?
And I think that underscoring that call for that national forensic campaign is
key. Important.
But now also what Wing Commander brings in is the ideal situation with the reality of the day. What happened on that day? What could have been done differently, really? Because of the peculiarities about this particular situation where deep in the forest, it took almost, in fact, 3 hours and over from the nearest community to the crash site.
Communities are in the forest.
Yes.
They live in the forest.
If you ask me,
have sent another helicopter to go oversee, but where was it going to land? Unless it does an airdrop.
They do a rappelling or something.
Airdrop into the city. When it does an airdrop, there must be personnel who are acquainted how to handle it. Human beings, but a peculiar situation, it might not happen.
Yes, but Wing Commander, for accidents, you cannot determine where an accident should happen. It is something that can happen anywhere at any point in time. I did see other videos of the Ghana National Fire Service also carrying bodies. How on earth can the Ghana National Service get to the scene without body bags?
If you watch Kevlar, saw that video, you saw a truck try to go in, and the fire service truck was coming, and was tooting that it should go back for it to get access. After the accident, they created access to the site.
No, I'm not talking about the access to the place. The way the bodies were carried without dignity.
I am not sure that they put the bodies on fire service. That I don't know. I have no information.
I'm not saying on a bus or something, but I saw some people carrying the bodies, and they were not in appropriate material. And for an emergency service to get to the scene without the appropriate tools It's uncalled for.
But let's come back again.
It is just like, excuse me, it's just like the fire service
city.
getting to a fire scene with a fire tender without water and asking people to bring buckets of water to put the fire off.
I think there's a point to be made about the way, so maybe...
This situation doesn't prevail everywhere.
No, the challenge is that this is where it will test it. This is really where it will test it. So that, again, I raised the issue about this animal thing. So is that at that point, is that then to say you see, because again, that's the reason why you get into these places and you secure the site. Yeah. So is it that you secure the bodies at that particular place, make sure there's somebody there, so you're able to bring the body bags in to be able to transport
professionally as we watch in other jurisdictions. That ought to have been.
You know what I mean? So I think
no, but that's when the people.
For example,
but when Commander,
until the professional agencies,
please hold on.
Savannah area,
I want to hear one.
Can land.
Okay, I was going to answer my also our political highway. So I have forensic audit, a expert or no, and it's just a tenant car. It is all my name, the edifa, a military, a helicopter crash na a crash, a handsome and I go so at the Bremway. But I must say, some of Japan Tisa and some way at my a Ghana Politics Avenue. So, Madam, I say, subscribe, like, not sound so a share my Afro front so and sa into me and Kabi, Madam, I say.